of the week that was?
Good week for us. Actually, Lacey was done last week too, so I'll lump that all together. We just didn't announce it today, but started off with a great week with what was first? Was our kids making the roster, I guess? Yep. Destiny and Chelsea both making an opening day roster, which we've all talked about ad nauseum about how hard it is to make that league. So congrats to those guys, proud of and for them. And then the news that Bentonville's Miriam Dauda will indeed be a Razorback was big news, literally and figuratively. And then Lacey being able to rejoin us and kind of reunite the band that got this started back together. We're wrapped it up with a birthday celebration, Bowen's first birthday on Friday, and about as good a week as I've had since COVID started. So I don't know which one of those y'all want to talk the most about, but we can go on any of them.
Paul, go ahead.
Hey, well, I'm going to start with Lacey. Can you tell me, how the duties are going to shake out and how it came up that she got the opportunity to come back?
Chantel, when I got Chantel in here as a former player, was somebody I wanted to make sure got a great start in college basketball, and she did. And I got an opportunity at Oklahoma with Jenny, where she was a GA to really expand her role over there and opened up that opportunity. Lacey will continue to do exactly what she did for us in the past, really impact recruiting, will impact on the court. They're going to really grow her into those areas. I think she's a little further down her career now to where maybe a head coach is maybe even a possibility in her future. So I'll get her exposed to some of those things that head coaches do. And, her fingerprints are already all over everything we've done. The roster she was able to help us assemble and the community support we were able to rally. So I don't want it to feel like a reunion or coming back home or anything like that, although it obviously will have that to some degree. It's like she took an extra COVID break, so glad to have her back. She will change offices because we're not going to change offices again. They changed the last time she met. So we're not going to do any of that shuffling around, but and nothing set in stone yet, exactly what we'll all do when it comes to sitting on the bench. That always changes, but she will be heavily involved in all aspects of the program.
Okay. All right. Was there
Jason,
anything?
go ahead. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. That's fine. Thanks.
Jason, go ahead.
With Miriam, we all know how big a pickup that is. Just the conversations you guys had, when Mulkey left, and then what's her outlook about playing next year, if at all?
I think probably referring to she blew her ACL late in her high school year. We'll get her with our doctors and evaluate and see where it's at. Make the best plan for her long-term success, obviously, whether that means starting, playing this year or waiting a year. Just all comes down to how that knee is healed and where she's at and what she looks at for her future. I didn't ask any of those questions at the time. All I knew is I wanted her to be in a Razorback uniform. From the moment that it was announced that Coach Mulkey would be leaving, anytime there's a coaching change, we all follow that very closely to see how incoming recruits will take the change. When she did get out of her letter of intent, which is a process they have to go online and do, we saw her name show. It's not the portal. It's a little different with an incoming freshman. So the name never, when it goes into a national letter of intent website. And whenever that hit, I wanted to be the first one to call. And it was just like we picked up, like where we left it off. We understood that Baylor was her school that she loved growing up and watching, and that opportunity at that point in time was the best for her, but that changed. And we are the best opportunity now. So the significance of it is it gives us that lane protector that we've not had here. There's never been one like this. I checked back with Coach Blair and talking to Amber and everybody that's been around here even a little bit longer than I have. We've not had a kid like this with that type of size and skill and athleticism and still the best basketball ahead of her. So, it's one of those pieces we've been missing, and now we've got it. And that means when you walk into any gym, there's not no matter who we're playing, there's not a roster issue. We've got depth, we've got size, we've got athleticism. We don't have anything on our roster that says we don't have a chance to win this game. So big in a lot of ways, and then factor in that she's an Arkansas kid. You know, she's a kid who's from this state, and that solidifies that. That's the last three McDonald's All-Americans from our state will all be in our uniform. So that tells future kids you can come here and play with the best. You don't have to go outside of this area code or this zip code to play with and against the best.
And how big is that just for you to get these in-state, the talent, and whether they leave or come back, they're still coming back and playing?
It means the future, whatever grade you want to go down to, 5th, 6th, 7th graders, they're watching kids that, you know, grew up in the state that they're growing up in and being able to do that right at home. It just sends it's a 24/7 advertisement that the University of Arkansas can prepare you for everything you need. You don't have to look other places. And it's a 24/7, 365 advertisement of that. You know, you see Jersey here with USA Basketball making into that finalist list of cuts for the 19. You don't have to go to a place. You can do it right here at the State's University. And it keeps us from having to say a whole lot. People call you now, and we get a chance to be very, very selective over the course of the next couple of recruiting cycles, because all these kids are really young too.
Nate, go ahead.
Yeah, Mike, just pretty amazed that when you lose a Dungy and a Slocum and Jalen Mason, that you may be as good or better off going into next season as you were, you know, with the team you had. That's
how it's supposed to happen. It doesn't always do that, but you hope that those kids will have inspired the next generation of kids. So, and I don't expect that the expectations will be as high. I don't think there'll be any preseason magazines raking us because we'll be so young. But sitting in this hallway right now, I think we're all very excited about what the team's potential could be. And that, yeah, you lose the impactful seniors that we lost. It's nice to know you've got kids coming in that have the potential to fulfill that. They've got obviously a lot of transitioning to do and a lot of proving to do, but sure is fun to play around with lineups right now. I covered my board. I've had a board back there a minute ago. I took it down. I didn't want anybody to be speculating on starting fives quite yet, although I'm sure it's just a matter of time before that gets started. But no, it's a fun problem to have, Nate.
Also with Eaton, how has she progressed medically this summer?
She got her first workouts in last week. She went back home for her brother's graduation, and she got back on the floor with her dad where she kind of got it all started. It was kind of cool to see those videos. She will absolutely be ready when we start team workouts, and she looks great. And it's good spirits, great frame of mind, and she's a kid that wants to win at the highest level. She's been nothing but helpful and excited about having these new teammates coming in. She's in a really, really good spot. I'm anxious to see her back out on the floor.
Thank you.
Yep.
Porter, go ahead.
Coach, you're talking about, you know, finally having all the pieces that you need, and just how important and crucial is that when you're really trying to take that next step with your program and get to the second round in the Sweet 16, that you can really focus on the players at their position, not have to worry about shuffling around.
Well, you know, I've used the analogy a lot of times about putting a puzzle together. You know, we were trying to make a puzzle. We didn't have all the pieces. Didn't have all the same pieces everybody else had. Now I think we do. We just got to figure out what that picture looks like and get them in the right spots and keep them healthy and let them play. But it gives you confidence as a coach and a staff that you can put together a game plan that really is dependent upon what you do. You know, it's not as much, well, we can do the best we can. We can guard the best we can. And if they miss the shot, Aaliyah Boston's going to get the rebound and stick it back in. That's frustrating. Now we can expect to get a much higher, percentage of our defensive rebounds. It's easier to ask that of these players. I had a hard time going in and asking Taylor to do much more than she did because of the limitations that size has in this game. We won't have that problem anymore with the overall addition, and mentioned Emory and Ashland coming on campus this Friday too. That's a couple of more 6'3s. So I told the dorm better get ready. We got like 24 feet, 12 inches, 24 feet, 11 inches moving in on Friday. So better get some beds ready. I guess it's more
Randy,
than
go
that.
ahead.
It's like 25 feet, 11 inches. Sorry.
Randy, go ahead.
Mike, having 3 McDonald's All-Americans, does that change the way that you think? And it also, what does it change in regards to the dynamics having 3 McDonald's All-Americans?
That's in the same class because Ramirez is coming back, so should be a 4th one out there, even if you count Amber. So, that's a great honor for those kids to have bestowed upon them. But, once they get here, they're all kind of, they're all back to square one, being freshmen. It makes scheduling a little more intricate. We have a few people that aren't answering our calls, but a few people now that will. We're going to return to UConn. We got some of the top teams maybe willing to play us now because we're going to be a little bit better. So in one way, scheduling got harder, and another way, it got easier. For me, it changes maybe the way preseason and off season can go. It's going to have to be more competitive quicker. I think in the past, we've probably gone into the most of the years with 3 or 4 starting spots, probably pretty solidified. And then the bench spots are pretty identifiable. I'm not sure that's going to be the case. So we're going to have to we'll start next Friday being competitive and starting to evaluate. There'll be obviously a little bit of a period of time for them to get their bearings set and know their way around town. But Randy, I think we start getting competitive a little bit quicker. I think we challenge them a little bit earlier because, if you have a good team, you're supposed to play good people. So we'll challenge them a little bit earlier in their career. Our schedule was pretty much set for next year, but we've tried to add a couple of marquee games. Unfortunately, we don't get to play in the SEC Big 12 Challenge this year. So we've gone out and tried to add a couple of games in lieu of that as well. And like I said, some people are taking our calls that didn't used to in the past, and others aren't answering the phone that used to be calling us. So it's kind of a balancing system there. But I know my expectation level is really, really high for this group. And I know it is for themselves too, just from hearing them talk early on.
Mike, you were speaking about now being selective in the recruiting process. How does that change now as you look towards this next class? What do you be looking for? How does that adjust your thinking based upon how young your team is?
Yeah, it affects that 23 class, that 22 and 23 class. We really narrowed our focus in 22. It's down to a very, very small number of kids, and 23 as well, because we've got 2 commitments in that class already. It changes where I go this summer. I'm going to be watching young kids. I won't be sitting at the events where our kids are already committed and signed. I'll be going and looking for, kids that would be freshmen when these kids are seniors. And that's kind of fun. I like going to those games because their parents are still there and they still do cheers and they keep score. They care about the score. The older they get, their parents stop coming and, they're already set. So their games aren't near as competitive, but it changes how we recruit, where we recruit, and who we recruit. It's very specific. I tell these kids, once you commit and sign with us, I don't try to bring somebody in the class right behind you. I want this to be your spot for 2 years. Now, 2 years down the road, we'll bring somebody in because that's the way it's supposed to work. When you're a junior, you need to be solidified so that a freshman doesn't take your minutes. But that's going to be an interesting thing this year with a lot of young kids out there, a lot of freshmen and sophomores on our roster, just one senior. We'll have no juniors. Amber Ramirez will be the only senior and everybody else will be freshmen and sophomores.
Brett, go ahead.
And Mike, we've kind of talked around this as far as having the number of All-Americans or the in-state kids, but to have them all at the same basic class or age with red shirts, it almost feels like a comet to be able to have 3 or 4 that are all could be with you for 3 or 4 years going forward.
Yeah, we're going to have the same team for a while, and that's a good thing. It's rare. It doesn't, for us, it doesn't happen very often. It hasn't happened here. We were researching it and it hasn't happened here, but there are other places that have it. South Carolina, I think, has 13 McDonald's All-Americans, and UConn has like 11. So it's been done some places having a higher number. It's almost the sweet spot. 4 is about the right. You start getting in that 7, 8, 9. Now you've got, you're either everybody, nobody, or 3 or 4. So, we use that term a lot, and it certainly is a good indicator and a good marker. But like, I look at Alana Eaton and think, that's a kid that could have that same type of moniker. And Michaela Daniels has outplayed every McDonald's All-American in her class at her position to this point. So I tell you what happens, Brett, is they start looking around and everybody in the gym is good. That's a good thing to have. You don't, obviously that that doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen always, but that just raises everybody's level of expectation and level of commitment. And what it does is if you're not on that same playing field, that same plane as they are, man, you stick out like a sore thumb. If you don't go to class, or your GPA drops, or you can't find your way into practice every day on time, you really stick out when you get around an environment of players like this. And that's going to be good. That's a good place for us to be. We've had to have some things that we've had to probably settle for. That's not the case anymore. Your GPA needs to be good. You need to go to class. You need to be on time. You need to show up. You need to rest. You need to recover. You don't need to miss a tutoring session, or those types of things change a little bit. Because now when it comes down to deciding who gets, maybe those last 10 to 12 minutes of a game, it's going to be pretty equal with who makes baskets and who guards. It's going to come down to all kinds of very, very small criteria that's not always the case when you don't have a roster full of kids that have a really high expectation of themselves and of the team that they've chosen. And coaches too. I'm going to tell you, I've gotten up earlier for the last 2 weeks because of the excitement, knowing I better be ready to go too, because I know this particular group is going to be very demanding that we be equally as good as we're asking them to be. So it's kind of a rejuvenation. I feel like I'm in year 1 instead of year 22.
Steve, do you have anything?
Just about not burning bridges. The fact that, some coaches have an ego where if someone from 30 miles away or 10 miles away says no to them the first time, that they cross them off the list, or they don't have the relationship with someone will come back.
I learned that very early on, watching coaches around the country who don't handle rejection quite as well. I'm used to it. I go back to how I was treated in 8th grade when I started asking people out. I'm used to being told no. And I'm also used to being that if you just keep being nice when you get told no, maybe sometimes they'll come back around. So it all started when I had a daughter, and I know how tough of a decision that is to make. I've never been anything but supportive of a young person making a decision everywhere when they make it. And it's worked out for us now a number of times, Steve. So it's funny you point that out, but I hope that stuff catches on for these younger coaches maybe out there in the country that get their feelings hurt. Because it can be a positive thing. And it's always been a positive thing for us when you're able to pick that phone up and start right back where you left it. And that's, I'm glad we chose to do it that way. And I'm glad I got a staff of people that do it that same way as well. And we were lucky. We didn't have a bunch of people jumping on message boards and bashing her, where, that happens a lot these days with social media like it is. She never felt that way. And I do think, I hope it's an important message for everybody that not to be so emotionally wrapped up in somebody's first no. Keep plugging away.
Russell, do you have anything?
Yeah, I'm good.
Or do you have anything?
Paul, did you have a follow-up?
No, I'm good. Thanks,
All right.
Mike.
Okay.
Porter, go ahead.
Coach, you alluded to the kids coming back. What does it mean to the state of the program, athletic program as a whole, that you're seeing this in multiple sports where players are going off and then they're coming back?
Well, I think the atmosphere that Hunter's brought the last 3 or 4 years, and then all the head coaches the tightness. I've said this on numerous occasions. I've never been a part of a full campus program that supports each other like ours currently is doing. You know, from tough losses to big wins to helping each other out any way we can. I think it says what we've got going here is special. And I don't know, it's that kind of that whole thing about you don't know what it really is. I don't really know what it is that's going on right now, but it's there. You can feel it, you can sense it, you can see it. You don't want to walk into that head coaches meeting. You know, I told y'all I was that place for a number of years when Hunter was going down the list of where all the teams were ranked and we weren't. I wanted to be in that conversation. And I think now that makes us all work incredibly hard and make sure we're getting the right kids in and coaching them the best we can. We've got obviously the fan support and the resource support to do all that. And I think did we have 17 of our 19 teams ranked or something, Mario? Is that still accurate or did that go?
Yeah.
And I know volleyball would have been in the NCAA tournament had there been an expanded field like normal. So it just makes it makes it easy to get up and come to work, put the Razorback on and walk around and work as hard as you can to make sure your program stays up with what's going on everywhere else on our campus. And I think it's great for our state because our youth programs and our grassroots summer programs can benefit from that as well.
Anybody else for Coach?
Yeah, Mike, real quick, how big of a recruiter is Bowen and how easy is it recruiting wise when all the other programs are being successful? I got to believe any lady would look at the success right now and want to be part of that.
Yeah, it's something. Every sport, every competition you see, there's something to celebrate. It allows you to call whoever you want to in the country, and there's some recognition. They know, oh, I saw y'all softball team, or didn't y'all cross country and track teams just win? Kids follow that stuff. So, and our Razorback is obviously very, very identifiable. So every time we get it out there, and then the hog call too, I've got some people calling me saying, I'm gonna have to learn this hog call, so we can teach it. So it helps it helps every sport that all of our sports are being good. And when you asking me about Bowen, my son?
Yes.
Oh, he's a magnet, man. They don't want to see anything I'm doing. They want to know what he's doing. They want to know what shoes he's wearing. I sent out a picture of his cake was an Air Jordan. They all want to pinch his cheeks and hug him. So I told him last night, I'm not sure whether he understands me or not, but he's got 3 more months and then he's not going to be the one everybody wants to see because we got that other one on the way. Everybody loves a baby. So Bowen's not going to have the spotlight by himself for very long.
Anybody else for Coach?
I wonder how much Alana can help Miriam just through this whole process. And, when they get up here together here soon, how big that'll be after having her go through that, being a high profile.
Great observation. And she is going to be her confidant. And I think what Alana can be for her is that sounding board on when Miriam starts to feel disconnected, because it happens to everybody that's injured. Alana will be able to walk her right back into it and won't allow that to happen for very long. Both being from the backgrounds that they've come from, they will be really, really good together. And her leadership in that area, she's already started it. You don't even have to ask Alana. She'll tell you. She'll say, hey, I reached out and want to let her know I got you. That's just how perceptive and how mature that kid is and how her mom and dad raised her. She will be, regardless of whether she's playing in December or not playing in December, Alana will be really, really big in that area.
All right, everybody, we'll go ahead and wrap it there.
Okay.